Yeah, I stopped buying turkey because it was just too much. Like,
Yeah,
I don't need a 20-pound turkey for two people.
Ekon.
Mm-hmm.
What is Ekon's contribution to making the village prosper over this 2 years?
All right. Well, let me answer your question with a question.
Okay.
How am I? Hold on, I gotta get my notes back in front of me. There we go. How am I over the course of the 2 years going to get together 21,035 gold pieces? Because so the first day, Ekon sits down, fires up quick scrolls, starts making lists of all the things he wants to craft and all the scrolls he wants to craft, and realizes he's going to have to do a hell of a lot of economic development on the village.
So you're going to become a Southern Baptist evangelical minister, is what I'm hearing.
oof, oof.
Wow.
That's like
That's
that's
drifting
both,
close to breaking the rule.
that's both a terrible and a really good idea. Like legitimately, oof, because
So I haven't added up how much money we have.
Not
So-
We
that
have
much.
a tenth of that.
Don't have 20,000.
Nope.
I think Edmont made like 2,000 wheeling and
Right.
dealing in the art world. What's the goal
Yeah, so
for all this money?
Ekon's... What?
the
I mean,
goal?
I have a ton of stuff. I'm sorry?
So you have
um,
like a big list of goals? This isn't all to build like one.
No, I
giant-
have a big list of scrolls that I want to craft. I also need spellcasting components for a lot of my spells that have non-consumed components, and I had one magic item I wanted to make.
Okay.
So here's the stuff that Ekon is thinking. For one thing, he's been trying for a long time with his hireling or retainer to build a greenhouse and be able to grow a lot of the plant-based spell components, especially the expensive incenses,
Okay.
to cover the cost of that. The other things he's thinking is he might want to take over and start trying to run and thus tax a lot of the trade between our villages and even the other realms outside of our slice of Darkon.
Okay.
So when Ekon looks at exactly how much materials and money he needs, he basically dedicates his time to improving trade and moving back and forth, and then trying to find a way to effectively tax that to get some of the money that he needs for his planned projects.
So the question is, how much can this village make in taxes over the course of 2 years?
Right, something like that. Or, I mean, obviously, he can go on adventures with Victor if Victor knows of any place that just has huge piles of gold lying around, but failing that.
There'll also be taxes from the surrounding villages that we have, right? Like, no Starbucks with the entire realm with the tributes and everything.
Well, managing trade would be more my job, I think.
Well, that's whoever's job who wants to take up the mantle. I mean, Jeannie's already contributing to that by improving roads in the area.
Mhm.
Victor is contributing to that by smoothing things in one direction or the other with the Vistani.
So Ekon's thought on that line would be to go to the neighboring kingdoms that aren't part of ours, though, and try and establish actual trade. Established, well-built, well-defined trade routes and tax systems.
Okay.
So, to use like Age of Empire terms, you're both the little monks that go and the trade caravans.
That you just have like a steady stream that's like just a solid line going back and forth. Otherwise, you run out of gold at the end of the game.
In terms of taxation, I'm going to round up and say that you can probably count on about 3,000 pieces of gold per year from the villages in your area, from like leveling tariffs and things on goods coming from outside if need be. The bulk of your wealth in the near term is going to be tied up in what is pulled out of that mine in your little mining village. Because as that's developed, those are trade goods that can be put out into the market immediately. They don't have to wait for anything to grow in.
Well,
20,000 gold is going to be a big, big ask.
But would it be worthwhile to ask how much all of us need for all of our downtime activities? Just so we have an actual number to work with.
I mean, none of us are like spending all of our time raising capital like Ekon is. He's using.
Well, no, like I'm going to need about 800 gold for training.
Trying to find my maps of the little outlying villages.
For what it's worth, I did spend 9 weeks cutting gems with the Headband of Intellect, since I am proficient in gem cutting,
Okay.
and I made a total of 118 gold pieces.
Nice.
For 9 weeks?
Yep,
Those
working
guys-
a job is not a viable way to make money.
That's true. Yeah, economic development in terms of things that you can tax, that's going to come around about 3,000 gold pieces per year. And the bulk of that is on trading with what's coming out of that mine.
What about the? I'm assuming that also includes the lumbering with our special trees. Although, are we trading the special trees?
That's up to you. This was just a quick calculation that I did to hand based on what a wealthy lifestyle would be like.
Yeah.
Listed in the PHP.
So are we actually adding 6,000 to our funds?
Yeah, I would say that's fair. And I will allow, because if Ekon is purposely trying to, like, if he's spending a lot of time fostering this particular aspect of your village, I'd be willing to allow him to make some skill checks to increase those funds.
Okay.
This is also based on the fact that you have 3 villages engaged in industry, and your family didn't like burn any of those bridges, so to speak. Because Silverbow has the lumber, you have the village with the vineyard, and you have a village with a mine. And the state that you left things in, both the vineyard and the mine and your logging concern here at Silverbow, are all in good hands.
And for reference, Ekon is not looking to like sabotage current assets for a quick buck. He is still trying to do things sustainably for future development, so he's mostly looking to bring in additional money by any amount of trade or taxation on that trade, or just raw trade he can do with the outlying settlements outside of our kingdom, effectively, outside of our duchy. Because we do have neighboring lands that we need the Vistani to facilitate travel across, so we'll have to take a share of the cut with them, but that's basically where he sees that he could make some more wealth without having to harm the livelihoods of the people in his land.
Do you tax the Vistani themselves?
Or do they traditionally get taxed? Do most kingdoms tax the Vistani?
Uh,
I'll ask Victor.
I don't think taxing the Vistani is necessarily a good idea.
the
But
Vistani have a cultural malaise towards the idea of taxation. They don't feel that they should be taxed on coming or going or anything that they bring through. And lands where those taxes are levied against them, they do tend to vacate. Unless
I don't think it's worth taxing them, mostly because they are providing the irreplaceable service of navigating through the mists. So if anything, I will divert some amount of taxation to them in exchange for those services to try and make up for it by having more travel between the different lands separated by mists.
And like the Vistani are trading in anything in bulk, right?
Sometimes, depending on where they
If
travel.
I can help it, give me 2 years.
Sometimes their Vardo does come through laden down with goods from a particular place. But it's kind of a lose-lose proposition. Because if you tax the Vistani, you risk alienating them, and if you don't, you get grumbling from your own people that they're getting special treatment, even though they're not your citizens. So Nobody likes being taxed, is I guess what it comes down to. Over the course of this, before we decide what skill checks are appropriate or what other gains you might gain here, it starts to become apparent after a couple months of working towards this goal that in the minds of the people here in Silverbow and in the reputation that you're building abroad, the Aetherian religion is starting to be seen as a mercantile religion. The high priest of the Aetherian church in Silverbow is the one who is in charge of all of this economic activity. People are starting to build connections in their minds between faith in air and economic profit.
That's why you needed to leave these things to the secular realm.
So
no, just pay your Sinway.
Ekon's decision at this point is leaning into that might allow you better returns at the expense of changing the doctrine that you know to be true in terms of what you learned the church is and air is.
No, I mean, Ekon will discourage that. He'll make it clear that he's just acting as, a high-ranking member of his family who has to wear a lot of hats, and sometimes one of those hats is just the person who runs around and does all the coercing on some of the trade when everyone else is busy.
Okay. Make me a persuasion check.
Okay. Can I use any magics on this, or
You can anything you got, but you can't take anything from anyone else.
that was almost good. I believe that's a 9.
A 9.
Yeah.
At best, it creates confusion, especially amongst your own people here, who have always seemed to have some difficulty grasping the doctrine in the way that you would have liked to teach it. Misunderstandings taking hold, and then you have to go out of your way to try to dissuade these notions when they pop up. There's not like a business skill. I'm going to assume that Ekon's not willing to lie or cheat or do anything like that to try to make,
No, not
make some
generally.
bank, make some paper. Okay.
You could.
What's the highest level of magic that Ekon has access to in terms of cleric spells?
5th.
5th level. Let me take a look at the cleric spell list here.
The 5th level spells are disgustingly expensive. And 5th level scrolls are also disgustingly expensive.
Okay. Let's start here. Give me an insight check, please.
Yep. That'd be an insight of 23.
Okay. Calc.exe. And give me another persuasion check, please.
It's not concentration. It is not. Okay, so I can't be proficient in this. 4?
4.
Yeah.
I thought you were proficient in it.
I am now for however long borrowed knowledge lasts.
You rolled
Oh,
a 1 and a 2.
That gets rid of my -2 charisma penalty. Makes it a +2.
Jesus. We're awesome at rolls.
Ekon is just not persuasive, which is why we're never going to actually be able to get anywhere with that.
That's why
Something
Victor's
idea.
That's what Victor needs 800 gold is to train all that crap up.
Ekon,
Mm-hmm.
your focus on Silverbow's economic interests evens out to an 8% increase in its profits over that time. So 3,240 pieces of gold per year in taxation. Here is the good news. A level 5 spellcaster, you can charge people to cast these spells. Like you could say, oh, I'll cast Raise Dead if you bring the diamond or whatever it costs, if you cover my costs. Because it's what, a 1,000 GP diamond or something?
I think it's 500.
500?
Yes,
Okay.
500.
Kind of the way that Edmont is doing, where he's making money in these like specialty interest areas. People would come from far and wide for you to cast these spells if they could be assured that they worked.
Mm-hmm.
And you could charge them for the privilege. In fact, I think that's a good place to start. A missive arrives one day, very, very urgently, saying that they have heard that the Aetherine Church has a miracle worker who can raise the dead. And they're willing to part with a large quantity of gold.
Is this locally or is this in a foreign?
You'd have to travel to another region in Darkon.
I think I will travel there and investigate. I will, in fact, try and travel there in secret and find out who I would be raising and what the locals think of that person before I announce myself.
Okay. What do I typically charge for spellcasting services? When you guys what did I?
That's in the PHP, isn't it?
Did Caitlin Chubb ever charge anything?
Yeah.
We always got trade with Caitlin, but the Ponce definitely put resurrections on our tab.
That's true. He gave you credit. For some reason, I'm remembering like 500 gold per spell level.
They don't really talk about it. They give a very vague PHP answer where it's like you could hire somebody to do it where, like a level 1 or 2 spell might cost 10 to 50 gold pieces.
It might be in the DMG then.
But for this first time outing, do you already have the diamond you need to cast Raise Dead?
No, that's part of the reason we need a pile of money.
Okay, well, they're offering 2,500 pieces of gold if you'll come and raise their daughter who died of illness.
Yeah, I will use some. Do I actually have any magic that disguises myself? I doubt it, but
I can disguise
just
you.
sure. I mean, the main thing is the armor and stuff. But yeah, I'll go in. I will go in secret and find out who these people are before I take the job.
And they're not great people. It's one of these noble families, the kind that your brother and your cousins were dealing with on their travels over the course of the years. Their village is kind of this ramshackle place where people are definitely suffering. They're abusing their power. But their daughter died of a chill over the winter, and they've heard that the man in the Aetherine Church can raise the dead.
And they're gonna use 2,000 what?
It's 2,500 gold.
And are they providing the diamond, or do I have to buy it?
It doesn't consume the diamond, does it?
Yes.
It does consume
This
the
is.
diamond.
I believe this is one of the spells that actually. If it doesn't, then maybe my costs change. But let me
Yeah,
look.
let's figure that out, because I thought it didn't.
Oh,
It
both
does
Raise Dead
consume.
and Greater Resto consume.
They
Yep.
do.
Consume for Raise Dead.
All right, yeah, then we'll raise the payment to 3,000, because then you can tell them that your fee is 2,500, but they also have to provide the diamond.
Okay. In that case, here's what we're going to do.
Okay.
I will perform the miracle. However, of the fee, 500 has to be donated to the Aetherine Church in the name of the Aetherine Church to good works to improve the lives of the common people in their village. So I don't take that part of it. that part of it goes to, and I will tell them that I will be using other Aetherine miracles to scry your village and contact people here and make sure that that happens over the course of the next year.
They promise you that it will be done, but you very much don't believe them. It's as good as you told them that you're giving them a 500 gold discount, basically.
Probably.
If I get that impression, then I'll just take all of it and I'll take care of the distributing the 500.
Okay.
That'll obviously take a lot of time, but
So you perform this miracle for this spoiled and ungrateful child, even though people on their streets are starving over the course of the winter.
yep.
That's what he took the extra 500. That's what he's given the 500 back for.
Yeah, and then I guess I probably have to bunker down here for the winter and spend 500 of that gold trying to improve the lives of everyone in this village.
Okay.
Build a church.
The wearying element of that kind of work is no matter how much time or money or energy you put into that, there's always more work to do behind it. You will never be able to care for everyone. You'll never be able to. There's always your last gold piece is always going to feed one family, and then there's another family behind them who needs it even more.
Yeah.
And as you're in the winter in your little room in this crappy village, you just think of the zombie horde in Edmont's painting and how overwhelming it all is. And yet, you came home with 2,500 gold. How often are
2,000.
you... 2,000? Oh, yeah.
Because I had about diamonds.
Okay. How often are you willing to perform that sort of work?
I think I'll do one more for the second year.
Okay. Because keep in mind, the lesser spells, like lesser restoration...
Oh, yeah, I mean, the big one, yeah, I'm talking like 5, like, I will do one more large, like 5, level 5 spell, but I would be more than willing to do a bunch of small ones over the course of a week or so in a village.
Isn't Remove Curse on... Yeah, it's level 3. That's probably a popular one.
70 opponents.
Somebody shows up with mushrooms growing out of their ears.
I mean, basically anything without components, too, I also provide to people in our village. Like, the only reason I wouldn't raise dead on someone in our own, like, one of our villagers is the lack of 500 gold piece diamonds.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to calculate how much money that you can make just performing these miracles.
Yeah, I can do every remove curse you want.
You can make a heck of a lot more if you are willing to start charging the villagers for things like cure wounds and other minor stuff like that.
No.
Then, yeah, the nature of your work is that you need this obscene amount of gold to scribe all these scrolls and get all these important ingredients and things. But the things you would have to do in order to do that would be to monetize the things that you want to provide your villagers for free out of compassion.
Right.
You need to dismantle your universal healthcare system and replace it with a bad insurance scam.
Yeah, Ekon's not willing to do that.
Evie would disown you if you did that.
All right.
Remember, Mom and Dad.
So how much at the end of the 2 years does that pile in?
If you're willing to perform another raise dead like that for an equally undeserving family.
Yep, same deal. I'll spend my winter in that village trying to make some form of amends.
Okay, so let's call that 2,000.
Yep.
And give me let's do it with a religion skill check.
There we go. I believe that's a 20.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, girl.
Your rolls are unreal, I swear to God.
And you can put together another 1,000 gold pieces with lesser spells over the course of time.
Has someone already added the extra 8% to our revenue into the player sheet or not? You did?
Mm-hmm.
Extra 400 gold.
Sorry, did you say you did or you didn't?
I did.
Okay.
Okay. getting a greenhouse built in the village is not, I mean, it's not a trivial task. It requires you to have a glass blower in town who's able to make it, an engineer who's able to construct it. I hear Jeannie has a very talented apprentice who might be able to be bent towards that sort of work. Is the greenhouse on the manor grounds? Is it inside the town proper, or is it outside the town somewhere?
Let's go with putting it outside of the manor grounds and outside of the town. Let's put it like somewhere like here.
Okay.
And I will try and devote half of that to spell components and half of it to like, especially stuff that would like significantly improve our agricultural output as a whole. Like if there's, you know, cedar plants, we can get started. Whatever our somewhat more scientific knowledge of agriculture from our homeland.
What's an example of some spells that require, like...
It's just incense, tons and tons of incense. I'm burning 2,500 golds worth of incense and herbs and oils.
Okay.
It's
Every
that
time you-
diamond, dust, and powdered silver.
For what
Every
spell?
time you slap a familiar, it's 10 gold.
There's lots of things that take incense. Legend lore, Hallow, Find Familiar, and I think one more. Hallow's the big one. I was hoping to
What's
put
the
out
most
2 Hallow.
expensive?
Hallow.
Hallow. Let me look that up real quick. That'll help me make this decision here.
I wasn't expecting Cleric to be so expensive
Very expensive.
because, like, I was like, surely Destil is not going to pick another character that just like takes a mortal and pestle and grinds them up and snorts the spell components after Alexander.
I mean,
But
Cleric is
Yeah.
worse than Artificer because my spells are so much higher level.
Question: if we really need this many scrolls that you need to spend several times our entire group's net worth on scrolls every couple weeks?
I mean, I have to spend this every time I learn a new set of spells. But I'll
You have to
I'll
spend
have to
20
make cuts.
grand.
I'll have to make cuts.
Okay.
have to make cuts.
Quick
Corners
Google
will have to
search
check.
here.
Like I can't. We're not going to be able to get all the scrolls I was hoping for.
So a very, very quick Google search leads me to believe that kind of a standard-ish size greenhouse that isn't just for like a hobbyist or somebody growing tomatoes at home or whatever would be about 2,800 square feet. Does that sound about right to you? That's 30 foot wide, 90-something
Yeah.
foot long.
Yep.
And then inside of here, you're
Ones
growing...
being, like with nurseries.
Okay.
Have tomatoes all year round.
We can grow seeds for things that allow us to do crop rotation,
Mm-hmm.
or what Ekon's thinking. Or more to the point, more what Ekon's retainer is thinking, because he's trained it. Herbalism.
Hallow seems like a particularly powerful spell too, which is why it costs so much.
Yeah.
How much does
I mean,
it
it's
find familiar is what? Like
10 gold.
10 gold worth
Oh,
of
it's 10?
incense?
Yeah, at least 10, yeah.
Okay.
1,000 gold worth of incense? Holy crap!
I wanted to cast at least 2.
So I'll say that each month
Mm-hmm.
I think it sounds about right to harvest 100 gold worth of incense each month.
Okay. That actually covers almost all of my incense demands.
Because that would give you guys a source of enough incense to kind of make Find Familiar a solved problem,
Yeah.
but not give you
I burn that about. No, I'll do 1 Hallow. It's fine.
but not give you so much that like the more expensive spells are just free. You're still going to have to think about how much you have. And of course, you can always just at any point convert wealth into more incense.
Yeah.
But the construction of the greenhouse, I mean, you get a compliment from Duke Darkwood when he lays eyes on it for the first time. It's not the most, beautiful or well-constructed greenhouse he's ever seen, obviously, because he's Darkwood. But the construction of it is like a minor landmark in the area. It's a fairly nice thing to have.
Genie puts a
Yep, and
giant wrought iron.
And
sun first.
I'm trying to do half of it towards actually improving the agriculture of our entire duchy.
Okay. Well, we'll factor that into the calculations we've already done.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So 100 gold worth of incense can be harvested from this greenhouse every month. And I assume the hardest part of setting something like this up is just sourcing the initial seed bank. It probably took several months of people going out and harvesting plants from the wilds that could be cultivated properly.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, where is the
I think
structure built?
also...
Where was this structure built?
I was thinking putting it outside of, putting it over here might make sense, but other people might have other opinions.
Over, by the window?
I think that looks like a...
It's a very. He was pointing over here.
Up here? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a source of water. It's outside of both the manor and the village, so it's like a dedicated space for agricultural development.
Okay.
Okay.
And it gives your plants a warm place to grow during the bitter winters, which you are apparently spending in some other villages from now on.
Both winters, Ekon is miserable in some other village. I'll go ahead and knock my age up 2 years, too. Young enough that it matters.
I don't think age actually correlates into any mechanical change in 5th edition. I don't think so. It used to.
All right, now I can vote.
Oh yeah, I guess we were there for a year before the time skip too.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're 18 now.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Evie and Genie could drink. Of course, they were already doing that.
There are not elections in Silverbow.
And I'm assuming this is on top of your regular responsibilities, maintaining the church, giving sermons, overseeing weddings, funeral rites.
I have spent every week of this downtime. So.
And
I'll probably have a little more downtime to work because I can't afford all the scrolls.
The constant. Well, it's up to you to decide if it's an aggravation or not. But 2 points of contention. It is an impossible task to get these people of Silverbow, your flock, so to speak, to give proper glory to God for the miracles you perform. The things you do, they associate with you personally. You're the one they come to seeking problems. And no matter how much you advise them to pray or to fast or that your power comes from a particular source, they're happy to listen, but as far as the people are concerned, you are the source of all of the miracles in Silverbow.
Okay, I have a thought on how to deal with that, but it's pretty long term.
There are some people in Silverbow who are very devout to their god. The problem is, they're followers of Heimdall.
Oh no.
Every time Darkwood is in town, there are impromptu little gatherings where he has stories and teachings of the glories of his own god. And people are following him. Is Heimdall worship allowed in Silverbow?
Ekon has mostly perceives polytheism as a curiosity. He doesn't find it particularly offensive because it wasn't really an option where he was from. So, he doesn't. No, he's not going to make any laws against it.
So that's what happens. People come to your sermons and they recite the prayers that you teach them, but there's clearly no reverence in the way that you understand it, the way that you felt.
I think long term that is going to do more to motivate Ekon to go more with his the rest of his family's plan to eventually leave Darkon because he cannot build anything that will stay here, sustain longer than himself. Like, he was not quite on the fence, but it wasn't like, he was less, I don't want to say hopeful, but he was making peace with the idea that he might be here forever, but as that is happening over time, Ekon is becoming more and more inclined to the idea of finding some way to destroy Aslan, possibly, since that's still up in the air, and then leave.
Okay.
That is the primary effect that has on him.
Murder the king, drop the mic, leave. Walk off stage.
Does Ekon travel to the outlying villages? Several more of which are going to pop up by the end of the 2 years, by the way, for sure.
Yeah, pretty routinely.
Does he have lesser priests under him that he's training up to be able to perform tasks in these other villages?
He's trying. I mean, the biggest problem, when I first started, I think the biggest problem was that there was very few people who are actually literate.
That's still a big problem.
Right, so it's just memorization, but he will work with what he has. But
Okay.
Anyone who watches him over the course of these 2 years will realize that he's seems way less optimistic about it by the end than he was at the beginning.
Okay.
He also thought the money problem he would solve in a couple of months. How hard could it be? 20,000 gold.
You're just too
Back
nice.
home we would get that. Back home we would just get that in a average month's take of all the taxes.
It's
We'd
because
be
you're
go
not
out and
nobles.
find a ruin or something.
Okay. Is there anything else that we should address with Ekon?
No, I don't think so. I'll have to. Once we get to the end of everybody, I'll have to figure out what I'm actually buying and how much of our money I'm spending.
Okay. Evie doesn't have anything important to do, right?
Probably not.
All right.
She's not
Yeah.
important.
She's going to complain for 2 years.
What is Evie's contribution to making Silverbow a prosperous town with big, thick stone walls?
Oh yeah, that stone wall is probably going to be one of Evie's big projects. I imagine that when Ekon is in town, he's probably going to get dragged into that because he could just make stone walls appear.
I spent 9 weeks training mason's tools, so I can actually use them when I stone shape. So yes, now I can do quite nice things with stone shape, I would hope.
Yeah, so the wall is going to be one of Evie's things. She is definitely going to reach out to the other territories, particularly Drala's lands, searching for trade opportunities. She wants to get like the duchy up and running and economically viable, and she, I guess, is just going to be trying to keep the lights on for everyone because the other members of the family are all drifting in and out, going on their own adventures. I don't plan for Evie to be gone for any extensive period of time unless something came up. But she's going to be here just basically running things. And one thing that I think she would like to do, she's like Jeannie, she's been doing a lot of soul searching. Like she doesn't avoid Jeannie necessarily, but she can't quite bring herself to meet Jeannie's eyes when she sees her. She clearly that one of the things that that awful professor said to her, you guys are gallant knights, and she realized she's not a gallant knight. She is not anything worthy or special at all, but she would like to be one. So I think she is going to try to establish a knighthood to kind of attract gallant, noble folk to New Warren.
So the first complication is that it becomes very evident pretty quickly as you're establishing contact with other localities around you. Drala's you've already have a connection with there, but within a couple of months of reaching out and establishing trade and meeting some of these other nobles and dignitaries and things, to say that the Veritas family are the best of them would be an understatement. There's very little nobility in these nobles. There's very little gallantry. There's very little honor amongst the people of Darkon. It is a dour, feudalistic, exploitative place. That's not to say that there's not opportunities here and there, but setting up a military tradition of knighthood based on gallantry might be okay in the short term. You might find a few people who might even actually believe in the cause, but this place will twist everything over time.
Yeah, that's probably true. That may not be. That may just be something that ends up on the cutting room floor. Then, as she realizes there's just not that many people around to build something like that.
Also, I don't know that Evie has the correct expertise to put together a military tradition like that.
Do you expect someone to be like a fighter to do that?
It's not to say that it's not worth trying. Just because something is doomed to fail doesn't mean it's not worth doing. That's one of the it's one of the downsides of being good aligned in an evil world.
Yeah, I mean, she would like to put together something like. She doesn't know how long the family's going to be here. They want to go home.
Mm-hmm.
She would like to think that she would leave behind a duchy that would have protectors. And they don't necessarily have to be nobles. If, commoners distinguish themselves, she would be willing to, welcome them.
Do you have a name in mind for this gallant brotherhood?
I'm thinking the Order of the Silver Tree.
So this would be an order of people who are represent a particular set of values.
Yes.
Okay.
It's not just being strong and having a sword and having a horse and having a suit of armor. You have to have values.
Do you share this pie in the sky concept with the rest of your family?
You'll run it by them, sure.
What is everybody else's thoughts on this idea? The Order of the Silver Tree.
Good luck.
Sure.
What
GD's?
do you intend to have them serve as? How are you going to come up with the goals? How are you going to define what their code of conduct is?
They would be protectors of the people.
Okay, it's very vague.
I've been in lots of villages recently. I can tell you, lots of people who would claim that title do very little on either protecting or their people.
Well, these would be the people.
I feel like you're spending too much time trying to make things here permanent, knowing that we're going to leave. We are still going to leave, right?
Yeah.
I just don't know how this is going to help us get home.
She's building. We could still be here for years. She's building a organization that could give us backup, at the very least. And I see what she's doing, and I agree with it. She's trying to leave things in a better state than we found it.
I'm not sure that can even happen in a world like this.
I appreciate the goal, but I mean, Ekon and I, we've been around a bit now, and I question the realisticness of that.
I question the value of the people that you would populate with such a knighthood.
Orson volunteers to lead it.
I think Orson is one of the best options we have, to be honest. I was going to suggest something like it's. I think this is something that Orson should work with Evie with, and I can, I don't mind outfitting the knights and whatever and things. Orson has the martial training to actually train anybody that shows up, and despite Orson's belief that he's furniture, he isn't furniture, and we all value his opinion. So
yeah, Orson thinks that he has the skills you're looking for in terms of martial prowess, and he would like to think that he has the value system you're looking for.
He's certainly proven himself to me. Another guy who I think is, this would cause problems, but I also see Leotgard, who basically soloed one of the Lucaru. He definitely has qualities.
Was Lietgar? I don't remember that name.
He was Abernathy's attendant.
Yeah.
The problem is putting him in my knighthood would possibly cause friction with Abernathy.
Well, I don't think it's. Is it a knighthood or more? It's just like a. I don't see like this being like a full knighthood.
No, it's defenders of the realm.
It's like a group of.
They're not going to be like guys on horses with shining armor, but it's going to be a group of people dedicated to protecting New Warren, and who have a series of values that they live an example of a good life. They are like gallant and noble.
I think what you're describing and what I'm understanding is you're just describing a group of knight errants that wander the region and assist people.
Yeah, something like that. That sounds really close to what
and you want them based out of Silverbow.
Yeah.
So they go out, they investigate things, essentially witchers that don't get paid.
Well, the guys who distinguish themselves would probably be given, lands. They would be able to, build up their own homesteads. That's what real lords do.
Yeah, but we're not real lords.
So,
We
Evie,
also need money.
give me a history check followed by an insight check.
Okay. Never good when he asked me to do an insight check.
It's never good when he asks us to roll
Is
dice.
this something that we can assist with since we're having this
No, this
discussion?
is-
Okay.
Okay, so the history is 25,
Okay.
and then the insight is going to be 29.
Wow. Evie,
No bullshit zone.
this
here.
thing you want to do, it's not impossible. Especially not if you've got the support of people like Orson and men that he feels he can trust. You've seen good, strong people in this world since you've been here.
Mm-hmm.
This is also a very dark and cynical place. As long as these knights errant don't mind being the laughing stock, because people out there are not going to believe in them, they're probably not going to trust them, they'll be very wary of them, in other words. That doesn't mean such a group can't still do good works. It just might mean that they're defending people who will never show gratitude for it. So as you think of the logistics of this project and the support that you could have and what you could put together and the resources Silverbow has to bend towards it, it's definitely a possibility, but it's not something that's going to earn you personal glory or wealth. Any recompense that you get out of this venture is going to have to come from just the knowledge that you've done the right thing. Orson's happy to lead it. Tenny thinks it's a fantastic idea.
Oh no.
Abernathy thinks it sounds like something out of a storybook, and he likes storybooks. If he didn't already have another important vocation in town, he would sign up himself.
I don't know,
I
it
think
sounds
he would
like
be hard pressed. I would say I do think he would be hard pressed to find anyone of quality.
Well, over the course of 2 years, you would be able to create this group. But
I mean,
this isn't something that's going to improve Silverbow's reputation, is what you're saying.
it would probably be neutral on that regard. Depending on whether the Order of the Silver Tree runs afoul of any of your neighboring lords. It's not likely to be a source of glory and accolades, is what I'm saying.
Okay, it just sounds like it's just not workable in this place.
I think
It's workable in the sense that good things could be done, and they could improve lives, but just like you guys have been around the block on your adventures a few times, and you've accomplished some good things out there, but good things tend not to last very long. It is a constant uphill battle.
We can protect the Vistani.
Ooh, the Vistani would have no need of them.
I think the Vistani would probably not like them.
I think that Jeannie is like genuinely not like, she takes a moment to explain to you that, and it's not just because of our normal relationship. And after she slaps you a few times for avoiding her, but she says not just because of that. I think it's genuinely a good idea, because even if it is futile, like, you're trying to make, it's worth trying, right? Even if it's doomed to fail, I think the world will be a better place for having tried, and I think that's the important bit. You're striving to make the land better than when you found it, and that is, again, that's like Jeannie's, like, that's basically been her goal for the last 2 years, like for this 2 year, like, that's her goal for this 2 years, is to, like, leave the land better than she found it. And I think that's a good idea. Jeannie's on board 100%.
What you can come away from this is, at the end of the 2-year gap, is you would have some number of capable military men in Silverbow at your disposal. If absolutely nothing else, you'll have people who can capably defend the walls, fight monsters, defend people. Whereas right now you kind of just have men that you can hand sticks to.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is something that we owe these people. They have protectors.
Do you grant a space in the village somewhere? Do they have like a guild hall, or?
Do we have a barracks?
This is what I was kind of imagining being like the guardhouse.
Where at?
This building right here that's kind of outside. It's got like, looks like training facilities here.
Oh, I see it.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, we could construct something.
This can be converted into a barracks.
Yeah.
Orson volunteers to lead this order.
Mm-hmm.
Orson's a 16-year-old boy.
Yeah.
He's strong, and he's capable, but he has not had a life of military training.
No.
And he's certainly never been knighted. Unless you knight him and grant him that title.
He could be Sir Orson, I don't care.
Is that what you tell him?
Does he want to be Sir Orson?
I guess he would ask whether you have the authority to do that, because authority for you to do that would come from Aslan, I imagine.
Oh.
You guys Aslan the Knight.
As far as you know, there's not a tradition of knighthood like anywhere in Darkon.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of why Evie wants to start it. Like, as far as she's concerned, within this duchy, she has absolute authority unless Aslan shows up and tells her she doesn't.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, does this tradition come with titles and...
For people who distinguish themselves, Orson has certainly distinguished himself.
So what is this ceremony like? I mean, is there like a big to-do in front of the church? Do you...
That's actually my question. Is this a secular order, or is it
This is not going to be maybe allied with the Church of Air, but the Church of Air does not have any authority over it. Yeah, I mean,
separate organization.
I don't know that Evie's not going to attach any pomp and circumstance to this until the order actually starts to like have a presence. It seems kind of silly to say, "Here's my new knight," when no one cares or even knows what that is.
Here's my new knight, my little brother.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you give Orson to distinguish himself from just other men-at-arms? Does he get a fancy new cloak? Does he get colors?
How about like a sword made of silverwood? That seems like a cool token.
Okay. Do you expect him to start using it? Because he fights with a spear typically.
Oh no, it could be
a shield with a symbol on it. We design a symbol, we put the symbol on the shield, we give him the shield.
Here, this symbol right here, the silver tree.
shield or armor in case someone wants to use a two-handed weapon? Like chest, like on the breastplate.
Okay.
Cloaks, whatever. We could make a catalog, and you could just pick.
Does Abernathy want to be in the knighthood? I don't expect that's
Perhaps
going
as
to
a
become like
ceremonial role.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be his new job. He already has a job in the village, and I want him to keep doing it. But yeah, Orson and Abernathy could be the first 2 members.
Okay. How much micromanaging is Evie doing in the day-to-day establishment and running in the first couple of years of this place? Or are you just saying, poof, it's there, Orson, go figure it out?
She'll want a hand in it. She's not going to like try to second guess Orson necessarily, but she'll want to. I mean, she's going to be doing in her investigations of Valentine Lands, looking, I guess, for potential candidates. If she sees someone who says this person seems like they have the makings, she would refer them to Orson and Abernathy.
I mean, there is no shortage of strapping young farm boys in this town and the surrounding villages who would love to try their hand at this sort of thing. Like you can fill this barracks with men who have a mind filled with like honor and glory and winning the day on the battlefield. And
well, I'm going to set expectations. Like, we're not going to war against anybody. This is an order that is protecting our people from the many evils that inhabit this land.
Okay. Of which Orson has seen plenty.
Yes. And, there's going to be... It's dangerous. It's a dangerous job. You're going to be going out into the wilderness confronting dangerous things.
All right, so at the end of the 2 years, here's what you've got.
Mm-hmm.
If called upon to fight for whatever reason, just the typical men-at-arms in Silverbow from this order, we'll give them a better stat block than, like, I think I typically just use commoner stat blocks.
Mm-hmm.
You would actually have, like, a low-level men-at-arms who can fight. Do you place any limits on who's allowed to join the order? Like, do they have to be of a particular blood? Can it be men of low birth? Can it be girls of low birth?
It could be anyone who exhibits the qualities necessary.
But what qualities are necessary, I guess, is the question.
Well, a willingness to fight, but you have to be, a defender of the people. You have to live good values. If you're like just a total jerk, just because you're rich and you have like a suit of armor, you can't show up and be a jerk to everyone and say you're in this order. That's not how it works.
Okay.
Like, probably anyone who wants to be in the order probably needs to be put through some kind of test, which would probably be, Orson and Evie would come up with something there.
So at the end of the 2 years, you're going to have these nice walls and men to walk them, capable of fighting with pike and shortbow. However, their capabilities as this defender of the innocent knighthood is as of yet untested.
Mm-hmm.
That remains to be seen. Tenny enjoying her freedom, going out into the woods and whatnot after she gains her level of noble or whatever. However, there does come a point where she doesn't come home when she's supposed to. Several days pass before she returns home. And when she finally does, whether she comes home of her own accord or whether you send people out in the woods to look for her. Actually, which of those things happen? Do you wait for her to come back or do you send people out to retrieve her?
If I was expecting her home by dark and she wasn't back by dark, I would send my familiar out to look for her.
Okay.
I think we would probably just go look for her ourselves, wouldn't we?
Probably.
Would be no send people. There'd be we go look for her.
But you have an order now.
In which case, the confrontation is basically that, like, part of her druidic training is to simply exist out in nature, and she can't do that with a curfew.
Oh, why didn't you say so?
Because Evie never listens to her, blah, blah, blah.
She's still petulant even though she's like 11 or 12 now.
I mean, I know people who are petulant in their 40s and 50s.
Treble grinds his teeth.
I'm not petulant.
No, I'm referring to you're one of two Banes.
So I guess the question is, do you expand on the freedom that she's allowed to have? If she chooses to disappear out into the woods for a few days at a time, barefoot in hippie garb, do you allow it?
I don't think I would allow that if she's going to be out there alone.
I would like
Well, she can summon a familiar at this point.
right. I would stand up for her and be like, I think we should let her do it. That's what she wants to do.
Victor is on the side of if she has a way to contact us if there's an emergency, then she can stay out.
Like it's just like as long as she has the ability to contact us and she tells us what she's planning to do.
I mean, where is she? How far is she going?
Whatever she tells you, you're assuming she's lying about it.
I mean, she's too young to be that far afield by herself. If something happens, she isn't capable of defending herself the way that the rest of us are.
Evie, your inner Ruby is showing.
But not wanting my 12-year-old sister to go off into the woods in Ravenloft alone?
So is the answer no, you're going to continue to enforce curfews on her?
I would tell her if she wants to do something like this, she needs to plan that in advance, and Orson or someone else needs to be with her.
Victor brings up the issue of why is the younger child telling the younger child what to do? Why is Evie the mother of Tinny?
I don't get it.
Well, the rest of us going to say it's not just Evie's choice as to what Tinny can and can't do.
Like you're not Tinny's sister. I mean, you kind of are, but also a brother. Kind of, yeah, but kind of no.
But basically, Tenny wants more freedom to pursue her own interests.
I mean,
and as
like-
long as that includes going out into the wilderness for days, it's a hard no. Is that what I'm hearing?
I mean, until maybe when she hits 13, like, does she know how to fight at this point?
She's a level 1 noble.
I guess her weapons are what? Quarterstaff and shortbow? Does that sound fine?
She takes a staff and meager provisions when she goes out.
Yeah, I would say that her two weapons are quarterstaff and shortbow if anybody's got a better idea.
No, that seems fine to me.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
She gets the two simple weapons. Evie, I think you should let her. I literally, when I was 12 years old, 12 going on 13, I literally moved to an entirely different city and went
Yeah,
to
I was-
college.
I was
Yeah,
already,
but it's
you
not
know,
in the wilderness. Okay, you know what? Let's try augury. Does the augury tell me anything bad is going to happen if she does this?
Inconclusive.
Like the thing is, like she. Let's give her all the same freedom that we were rewarded growing up. Like,
I don't remember any of us going out into the wilderness alone when we were 12.
I did.
I did it.
Nigel did.
Yeah.
I mean, I had my retainer with me, but
So like
it's a time we, have an audition to get her retainer, someone who knows the woods better than her. That's what that's what my parents did.
Mm-hmm.
like
Perfect.
what is the requirements that Tinny needs? Like what is she exactly asking for? She's got to go out and be one with nature. Can she do that with her?
None of you
with
have a
the-
level of ranger or druid. How many of you are trained in the nature skill?
Just Orson.
Just Orson?
Yeah, just
So
Orson.
I'm going to say that probably none of you, including Orson, understand what she needs out there.
Right. Like we're trying to that's why I asked her if she could explain.
She's pursuing a sort of lifestyle that's completely alien to all of you in terms of... Jeannie was sent off to school and Ekon went off to the church, but this is something very, very different from any of that.
I mean, we're not at home. We can't do things like we were at home. Yeah, the thing is, Evie, is that Tinny has proven herself. Yeah, she's a petulant little shit. I side eye her, but she's very. She
made her own house relic. She can cast all the house spells.
Yeah, she
She
basically.
can get that staff between my dagger and my dagger and her when I tried to show her she can handle herself.
So, but I'm just yeah, she she's almost she's a full adult as far as our house is concerned.
Edmont,
And
Sure.
make a wisdom check.
Edmont.
$19.
It occurs to you that your cousin Evelyn, amongst her vassals, have people with the expertise to keep an eye on Tenny without her knowing it.
Yeah.
As a sort of compromise. You could tell Tenny she's on her own, but she would not actually be on her own.
Yeah.
The idea occurs to you as you're having this little spat.
Yeah.
When Tenny comes back from being in the woods for 3 days too long.